everyone, welcome to this latest episode of the Movie Crusaders. My name is Sean Wasserkrug, and today we're going to be reviewing the latest horror film to hit theaters, Antlers. Antlers, frankly, this movie I think was supposed to get released like 2 or 3 years ago, definitely at least 2 years ago. I've heard a ton of word of mouth about this movie from people that I follow and listen to their expertise on movie reviews. I've heard great things coming out of this. This is a great horror film. Obviously, one of the greatest monster designers out there, Guillermo del Toro. He is not directing this film, but he was a part of making the creatures and producing and helping out with the film overall. You also add 2 actors that I love, in Kerry Russell and Jesse Plemons, to it as well. But it's finally out, and I finally got to watch it. So for me with Antlers, this was definitely a film that I really didn't know a whole lot about. Granted, I've seen the trailer enough times, but it did a good job in the trailers, at least the very, very first trailers. I don't know about the most recent ones. Doing a good job of not really telling us what was going on. You basically just have like a creepy kid played by Jeremy Thomas, who plays Lucas, and then you got Kerry Russell's Julia Meadows, who basically plays his teacher, basically kind of trying to protect him, look after him, kind of figure out what's going on because she thinks he's being abused. And that's basically kind of where, at least from the trailer, that's what we know basically about Antlers. Now, in terms of the actual film, let's get the good stuff out of the way here first. The creature itself, which for... I'm not going to say exactly what it is. I'm going to leave that up to the people who are watching the film. But when we do get to see the actual creature in the film, it looks fantastic. To the point where I kind of wish we got to see more of it. Because for the most of the film, like a lot of creature horror films, whether it be like an Aliens or Jaws or other films like that, they do a lot of hiding everything in the dark, or you only get to see real quick glimpses, and if you do, it's kind of blurred. And until like the last 5 minutes of the film, that's when you get to see it in all of its glory. But even then, it's still pretty dark. But when we do get an actual good visual of the creature in this film, it looks terrifying. Very Aliens in a sense with the alien queen. I'm not saying it looks like a xenomorph, but that's what it immediately reminded me of when I was watching the final scenes. It gave me kind of an Aliens vibe, and I say that in a good way, not in a bad way. But the creature design looks great in the film. Problem is, you only see the creature for maybe a total of 3 minutes total in this film overall. The film itself, I mean, Kerry Russell's a solid actress. She does a solid job in the role. Jesse Plemons is a solid actor. They both just... It's not that they don't get enough to do. Well, Jesse Plemons definitely doesn't get enough to do. But Kerry Russell gets plenty to do, but I don't think her storyline is emphasized enough in the actual plot. And it's just kind of giving quick little glimpses here and there, and enough to the point that doesn't really hit home or transfer well enough onto the screen as I think that they had intended of doing. This movie definitely falls a lot around parental abuse, whether it be physical, mentally, or sexual. And on Carrie's side of things, you could tell that she's had a tough life because of her father. It looks like there could have been sexual abuse, definitely physical and mental abuse. It looks like, at least from certain times in the film, she probably is an alcoholic, because she constantly is always looking at booze but won't drink it. But she's carrying a lot of weight off of past trauma, and that's when she takes notice of Lucas, who, I mean, like, granted, he's a creepy little kid. He's got the whole sunken eye look, everything like that. But she takes notice of him because she sees a lot of things in her past on him and makes her take notice that he's probably being abused as well. Literally, does she know what the actual story is unfolding with Lucas. But the problem is with that story with Kerry Russell, it's not that she doesn't perform it well, because she does. When she needs to deliver her lines, she does it good. It's the script that I don't think does a good enough job of transitioning her past traumas into the Lucas storyline, and I think that's where ultimately a lot of it does fail in terms of trying to find more of an underlying story to this outside of just, a creature. Jesse Plemons, he basically plays Paul Meadows, who's Julia's brother. He's also the sheriff. Jesse Plemons is great. I love Jesse Plemons, and I really love when they give Jesse Plemons stuff to do in this film. But in this, he basically is just kind of like the, I don't know what to do, or I don't know why you're freaking out, or I don't know, I can't do this because of warrants and XYZ, and oh no, this is not a creature, this is just an animal. What are you doing? He's just kind of playing that generic horror film cop who doesn't believe anything that's happening until when the needle drops in the third act and everything kind of is for show. Jeremy Thomas as Lucas, the kid does a great job playing a little creeper, and he's not a creeper. I keep saying that like he's a creeper. He's not. He looks the part incredibly well, but Lucas is really what sells the film. Jeremy's performance of Lucas, he has so many layers that he has to go through as kind of trying to be a protector and a provider, and stuff that he shouldn't have to do at age 12 that he has to do in this film. And I think the actor Jeremy Thomas does a great job of that. And I think if there is one positive out of this film, it is definitely his performance, because his performance was really what captures the essence of what Antlers is. Even if the script itself doesn't do him any service of doing that. He's definitely the one big positive out of this film, is definitely his performance. The rest of the film, I mean, visually, especially the horror aspects, are shot beautifully. I think the director is Scott Thomas, Scott Cooper. Visually, everything looks murky and scary and creepy when you get those particular scenes coming up. Problem is that the movie is just depressing as hell. There's just no bright spots in the film, and maybe that's the story that they were trying to tell, because obviously there's the creature, but then there's this abusive storyline angle that they are really trying to hit home with it, which frankly kind of doesn't have anything to do with the actual creature itself. There's connective tissues to it via the creature, but the actual what the creature is and how he comes to be and everything he is has nothing to do with abuse. So them trying to force his abuse storyline into it is really kind of where it clashes with the film. Well, it just doesn't. It feels unmatched. They don't mix properly. And then even then, when you do kind of figure out what the creature is, which for anyone who's watched Supernatural, you've seen this creature before. Definitely done differently, but it's one of those things where, and movies do this, where if it, especially I will say it's a Native American type of creature. And so because of that, you have to have this Native American character played by Graham Greene, who's like the former sheriff, and he's the only one who seems to know what this creature is, and he's just basically there to basically drop exposition. And it's just like, if you need him to do that, great, but give him more to do in the film. He's not really given anything to do besides, oh, he's Native American, he might know what it is. And then as soon as he drops the exposition dump of what the creature could be, you never see him again. And it feels unnecessary, and it's something that we've seen done 1,000 times before in all horror films. It's either an old lady or an old gypsy or a Native American or some other kind of old person who basically you go to find out what the ghost or the creature or the demon is. They drop the exposition dump, and then you just never see them again. And I'm really sick and tired of this trope. You could have had him try to help at the end of the film or just matter more to the actual story, but frankly, he's just there to drop exposition and then bounce out. And because of that, the Antlers, while it looks great and you do have a great performance from Jeremy Thomas, it just is not a horror film that, to me, really feels like something worth going out of your way to see. It's just kind of a depressing slug of a film to get through, and it's only an hour 40. But by the end of it, I was just kind of like, okay, cool. Like, the monster looked cool, but I'm definitely not in any mood to ever rewatch this again, which sucks because, like I said, I love Jesse Plemons, I love Kerry Russell, but the whole time watching this film, I was just kind of bummed out and depressed, and I wasn't excited for the creatures. It definitely, while it looks great, this isn't one of those things where I'd go to someone and go, hey, you need to see Antlers. Antlers is fantastic. The creature looks great. The story's great. It's not any of that. It's a story that's forcing a narrative, which the narrative's important, but it just doesn't match with the horror story that we're being told. And the creature looks great, but you only see him for about 3 minutes. And the performances aren't bad, but they're also just kind of unmatched. And that's kind of Antlers in a nutshell. It just doesn't feel like a complete film. It feels like you're mixing two different storylines together, and they just don't fit together piecewise. And that's technically Antlers in a nutshell. So going into recommendations, I can't necessarily recommend Antlers. It's definitely not something I'd say you should go pay money to see or go out of your way to go see. If it pops up on digital, on like a Netflix or something like that, yeah, check it out. It's free at that point. But should I tell you to go out and spend, $8, $9, $10 on a theater seat for this film? No, I can't do that. Going to my overall score, I'm going to give Antlers a 61% because visually it does look good. It's the story and leaving some characters kind of open-ended to not do much in the film that really kind of holds Antlers back from being more than just a creature feature. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, reviews for Army of Thieves and Last Night in Soho are currently available, as well as this week's episode of the Weekend Crusaders, where Brian and I talk about 5 films that came out during this weekend in movie history. Next week, Brian and I will be back again for another episode of that. Also, Eternals is coming out next week, so we'll definitely have a review for that, as well as Love Hard, Spencer, and The Harder They Fall. I don't know what reviews we're going to have for those ones, but we will definitely have an Eternals review, so be on the lookout for that. And until next time, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.